On tonight's episode of Open Mic Night of the Living Dead, it's our encore to Black Christmas, and we're talking horror movie directors who direct kids' movies too.
Part 1.
Part 1, duh. Yeah?
The creature's creeping right behind you. I hope you finally find a little slice of peace and light. 'Cause it comes crashing down tonight. Welcome to the open mic. When we call your name, you'll die. But there's no need to dread. This is the open mic night of the living dead.
All right. Here we are.
We're here.
So what have you got lined up for us today?
So for today, I have brought a list of directors who, like Bob Clark, have directed a variety of genres, ranging from horror to family movies.
Because we just did Black Christmas, and that was directed by Bob Clark.
Exactly. And he also did A Christmas Story, which is definitely not as much of a horror movie as Black Christmas.
None whatsoever, from what I understand. I still haven't seen it yet, but time's running out.
Yeah, we don't have much longer if you're going to get to it this season. I know we've had a long roster, but...
And I'm John.
I'm Rachel.
And if this is your first time joining us, welcome. We are married under the laws of the state in which we live. We met in an open mic night at which I was accosted after my set by Rachel, who ran another open mic night. And it was such a weak open mic night that she drafted me because she thought it would really bring things.
Objection, Your Honor. Too much self-deprecation. And also, I didn't accost anybody.
How is that self-deprecation?
You were saying you... Wait, what did...
I was saying that your open mic was so bad that you needed me to improve it.
Okay, fine. Fine. Stop deprecating me.
Yeah, I was going to say that's just deprecation. Not to be confused with defecation.
Oh, no.
And
we're off to a great start.
Yep, we're rolling with the season.
Dude, this season, wild as always. Kind of like the directors on the list that I have prepared for us.
Hit me.
Some of them really, none of these surprised me a great deal, but I had forgotten about a lot of them. So I kind of wandered all over. So we're just gonna go with this. The first director I want to talk about, Robert Rodriguez.
Heard of him?
I bet. He is a prolific director, has done all sorts of things. But in terms of his horror bona fides, From Dusk Till Dawn, 1996, one of my all-time favorite movies. Written by Quentin Tarantino, of course. The Faculty, written by Kevin Williamson in 1998.
I always forget that he directed that. I really love that movie.
I know. And for whatever reason, it's never been quite as popular as some of the other movies of that time, but it holds up real well. That's a favorite of mine. And then, of course, we've got Grindhouse in 2007 and a number of other films, but those were the ones that I know I've seen either multiple times or have been really memorable for me. But he quite famously wrote and directed Spy Kids in 2001. And the story I heard, although I did not find a direct quotation for this, was that he wanted to make a movie that his children could watch. And so he created Spy Kids. I think he might have directed the second and third one as well. I believe there's been a fourth and then a reboot. Our younger daughter really enjoys the Spy Kids movies, so I've seen them a lot in the background. They're really fun and exciting. He also did We Can Be Heroes in 2020, which is another kids superhero movie with a lot of special effects, really great, exciting story, a lot of big name actors. So yeah, Robert Rodriguez, From Dusk Till Dawn, which has cameos from all sorts of people, including our special effects guy that we were just...
Tom Savini?
Thank you. I could see... All I could think was Sex Machine, which is the name of his character in that movie.
I'm thinking about him and David Letterman. We just saw a clip of him like in the mid 80s. It was right before Day of the Dead was supposed to come out. So it would have been 84 or 85. Was Letterman really doing it back then? He must have been.
He must have been. It was a really neat clip. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend it. I don't think I've ever seen Tom Savini for quite such a long time, kind of out of character or not. Yeah. He's very, very interesting to watch, and brought some props with him and some special effects stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah, he brought a bunch of stuff from Friday the 13th, the final chapter, which had just come out the year before, which is possibly my favorite out of the franchise, depending on the day you ask me. But anywho.
Yeah, that was neat. Oh, and I did make one more note about Robert Rodriguez. He directed a music video in 2025 by the group Mammoth called The End, I think, is what I've written down here. But he co-directed it with Greg Nicotero.
Oh, cool.
And it's starring Valerie Bertinelli, among others. So a music video directed by Greg Nicotero and Robert Rodriguez, starring Valerie Bertinelli. I haven't watched it, but I thought it should be on your radar.
I also saw something really interesting recently about Robert Rodriguez that I had never heard before, which had surprised me that I hadn't heard this. But his first movie in that trilogy was that with Antonio Banderas.
Oh, Desperado.
Yeah,
and
what was the one that
Once
came?
Upon a Time in Mexico. El Mariachi was first.
El Mariachi was first.
Mm-hmm.
And the budget was something like $7,000.
It was super, super low budget. Yeah.
And he never thought it was going to, he wasn't planning on it. He was hoping to make enough money to fund the next movie, but that movie itself did really well, and did well in the United States too, which was another thing that he was not planning on. But anyway.
Yeah, very cool. And just as a reminder, Greg Nicotero is a makeup effects guy, and he worked on Day of the Dead in 1985, George Romero's Day of the Dead, under the tutelage of Tom Savini. So
yeah, and he's done everything since then. I think we've talked about him before.
We have, but that's the big headline for him, for those who don't know why it would be of interest that Greg Nicotero and Robert Rodriguez directed a music video. Now, these guys just all hang out together, I think, and that's awesome. It's really, really cool.
Look at this bloody stump. Have I got a bloody stump for you? Just like a text message thread.
Oh, yeah.
Where they just send each other pictures of gruesome things. They're probably on some sort of list somewhere.
Probably.
But aren't we all at this point?
For sure. Next director who kind of bounces between genres, Guillermo del Toro, who,
yes,
of course, just had his big Frankenstein release about a month ago or so. He also has done, he's done many horror type movies. The Strain is a TV show that he wrote that I really, really enjoyed about vampires. I don't think you've watched that. He did Hellboy in 2004, and of course Mimic in 1997. Mimic scared the crap out of me when I saw it. Do you remember, with the big giant bugs?
I watched that this year.
No
I think
way.
At some point. I will be honest, Guillermo del Toro is a major blind spot for me. Mimic might be the only movie of his I've seen.
Really? So you haven't seen The Orphanage or Pan's Labyrinth or any of those?
Nope. Or The Shape of Water. Isn't that him?
Yes.
Didn't he also he had something earlier. Kronos was one of his first movies that's supposed to be really good.
Yeah, I didn't write them all.
Early 90s.
I wrote down the movies that I had seen that I thought of. So I did not write a full filmography in my notes for this. But in terms of the stuff he's made for kids, Trollhunters, the TV show, 2016 to 2018, which again, our children enjoyed. I enjoyed the heck out of that. It was an animated show, really cool. He also had his Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio in 2022, which I haven't seen, but some of these directors kind of do creepy kids movies, right? And so that kind of crosses that line. He also did Kung Fu Panda 2 and Puss in Boots, both in 2011, which are very much children's movies, but with an edge.
He directed both of those?
I think so. I wrote it down, and I thought I was only writing down things that were directed, but your suspicion makes me curious.
Well, that ups my Guillermo del Toro numbers, at least.
Oh, that's fair.
If he did direct those, because
Yeah.
I've seen Kung Fu Panda 2 and Puss in Boots.
Let's see.
For sure.
Let me just... I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have written it down if it wasn't directed by Trollhunters. Oh, no, wait. You know what? It must have just been writing, because that is not showing up on as a... under his director role. How about writer? Let me see. Oh, yeah. He has a lot more writing credits than... He did the screenplay for The New Witches. He did The Strain. Yep. Shape of Water, Crimson Peak. Oh, he wrote the screenplay for the Hobbit movies. See, yeah, we are not fully up on Guillermo del Toro. But again, someone who kind of goes back and forth between super creepy, super weird, and maybe he was a producer and I've just completely made this up. I can't even find it now.
I think he also lives in a spooky house and has lots of scary memorabilia too, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think it's interesting to talk about these directors and all the trivia bits and stuff, even though I'm getting a lot of them wrong. And please feel free to correct me on whichever platform you're listening to. I also think it is telling that people with vivid imaginations are drawn to fantastical worlds that often contain elements of horror. And so people like Guillermo del Toro and Robert Rodriguez, who have just these huge imaginations and build these incredible worlds, that's something children do too, right? And so people with big imaginations, I think, are often drawn to horror. And that's why they tell those stories, I think, because they kind of test the limits.
Well, even dating back to like fairy tales, grim fairy tales.
I was just thinking about that.
Like a lot of the stories we saw Disney do a fantastic job with, if you go back to the original versions, they were a lot creepier, you know.
Oh, brutal. Yeah, The Little Mermaid, the original story, where she got to remain human, but every step she took felt like she was stepping on knives. That was her punishment, kind of. That was the cost of losing her tail. But she couldn't speak ever. But she did it because she loved the prince so much. Yeah, very, very, very scary. Let's see. What else do I have here? Eli Roth.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of horror. I'm just going to leave it at that. But he also did a movie called The House with a Clock in Its Walls with Cate Blanchett and Jack Black.
Yeah, I want to watch that next time it's streaming.
I was wondering if you had seen it. I had not seen it. I had not even heard of it before. But I liked the cast. That seemed interesting to me. And 2018 is the year that came out. And it has an almost identical score to Thanksgiving on IMDb. But of course, Eli Roth, hostile. Like,
he's very hostile.
Very hot. That's hostile. Hostile. Fine. Whatever. Another kind of contemporary, maybe, of Bob Clark is Richard Donner.
Ah, yes. Donner Party of Five. The Donner Party? Wasn't that a thing? That was
the cannibalism.
Oh, well, so that fits in with our podcast.
It does fit in. It fits in. Richard
was he
Donner.
Part of that?
No. I think that was in the 1800s. The Omen, 1976, which we just watched and really, really, really loved. Just watched sometime in the last few months. I don't remember anymore. But then, of course, Superman, 1978. And then The Goonies in 1985, which is a kid's movie, but is a pretty raunchy kid's movie.
Sure. I mean, it was a kid's movie of the 80s.
It was. Lots of jokes that went over kids' heads until they didn't. Lots of really scary stuff. But didn't we show that to our kids when they were a little bit younger? And then we were like, oh, this might be too much.
Maybe. Part of the problem is our kids ask too many questions. Like if I didn't understand something, I wasn't asking about it. I was just like, let me get to the next thing. And they want to understand every joke. And no, the point is you're not supposed to understand every joke yet.
I think that says something about the way that culture has changed with the introduction of technology and easy answers. They can get answers to every question that they have, almost every question. And we didn't. It was like, look in the encyclopedia or ask your teacher, or look in the Guinness Book of World Records. It was not just jump on your tablet and look it up on Google.
look in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yeah.
Rachel's go-to answers for everything.
If you were like, I wonder how long somebody has jumped on a trampoline for, you would go and dude, I never had a copy of that book, but when I went to friends' houses and they had a copy of that, like the old paperback version, man, I would just read that for hours. I'd be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe somebody did that for that long.
I often had hardcover copies of that.
Yeah, I know you did. You had all sorts of fancy stuff. You had all sorts of cool toys I did not get. And that's okay, because it made me learn how to become a scavenger and go to friends' houses and read their Guinness Book of World Records.
That's why my charger is always missing.
I'm not the one that takes your charger most of the time. Anyway, Richard Donner also directed the Lethal Weapon movies. And I didn't know this, Assassins in 1995 and Conspiracy Theory in 1997.
Oh, yeah.
Both of which were written by Brian Hoagland, the writer and director. So that's kind of cool. Oh, also, Assassins had Antonio Banderas, who's been in a bunch of Robert Rodriguez movies. So that connects that. Not really. That made me think of that. So yeah, Richard Donner with The Omen and then Superman and the Goonies. So kind of moving in that family direction and then into the action suspense kind of genre. One name I ran into, and this was specifically looking for answers to this question either on Reddit or I don't know, on Letterboxd or in other places where people talk about movies. Justin Dick, D-Y-C-K. He's done about 20 family-friendly Disney and Lifetime Christmas movies, and then he did the movie Anything for Jackson that came out in 2020, which is the second time Anything for Jackson has come up. It came up last in our Encore about movies about grief for The Descent. I know very little about it, but it has popped up again, so I wanted to bring that up. But again, someone who's gone the other direction from family-friendly Lifetime movies over to something that apparently is pretty good. So putting that on our list, or would love to hear anybody's comments on it.
I was going to mention Joe Dante.
Yes, I did not write that down, but yes, and appropriate for this time of year.
He first started kind of in the Roger Corman University School of Training or whatever.
Yep.
His first movie was not a horror, but it was looks like a comedy of some sort. But then in 1978, he directed Piranha.
Mm.
And then right after that, he did Rock and Roll High School, which we went to a last drive-in event in Massachusetts where they played Rock and Roll High School, but we left because Rachel was falling asleep.
My fault.
Well, we had also planned to leave early because it was a bit of a drive and didn't want to be there too late. But after Rock and Roll High School, he directed The Howling, which we watched this year. And he did Twilight Zone, the movie. And then he kind of he sort of transitioned from sort of the horror stuff into the family direction where he directed Gremlins, which is kind of a crossover. Obviously, it's a Christmas movie, which I'm hoping we'll get to that soon as well for our personal viewing.
Yes.
But Gremlins was one of the movies that came out in 1984. It's one of the movies that is cited for the creation of the PG-13 rating. That and Temple of Doom both came out around that time. And I guess there were a lot of parents that took their kids to see Gremlins thinking it was going to be a little bit more on the cutesy side, which it is for part of it. But then it certainly takes a turn. And after that, he worked back and forth on some sci-fi, and The Burbs is kind of a quasi-horror movie with Tom Hanks. He did Gremlins 2, but he also then he started doing movies like Matinee, which I've never seen. I've heard really good things about it. It's got John Goodman in it. It's rated PG, so I think that's kind of a family movie. And then in 1998, he directed Small Soldiers. Did you ever see Small Soldiers?
Oh, man. Apparently, I saw at least part of it because I just flashed back to a scene from it, but I don't remember it deeply.
I really enjoyed it. I remember watching it. My grandparents used to live on a lake up in super northern Maine, and I would go up there for a couple of weeks at a time in the summer. And I just remember it must have been, they had a satellite dish but before it was a thing, and it would, like, if you wanted, like, it would point at different parts of the sky. Like, sometimes you had to wait for it to turn. But I think one of the times I was up there, it must have been on like HBO or something, and it kept airing because I think I watched it a couple of times. But,
Oh, cool. Yeah, I didn't realize that was him.
and he's done plenty more since then, obviously. But,
right. Yeah, that's so interesting how many of these big directors, it's funny. And actually this next one, Sam Raimi, who of course did The Evil Dead, which we covered earlier, did Spider-Man in 2002, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3 in the following years, which I think are at least family movies, if not children's movies specifically. And he also did Oz the Great and Powerful in 2013. He's also done a bunch of other horror as well. So he's done a lot on both sides. But I remember seeing Spider-Man, the one with Tobey Maguire from 2002, in the movie theater when I was in college, because that's where I was in 2002. And I remember seeing Sam Raimi's name on it and being like, what? Sam Raimi? Like The Evil Dead Sam Raimi? And then there's a Bruce Campbell cameo in that movie.
right.
And I just remember this sense of feeling like that's my guy, like a weird parasocial feeling of like, oh, people, like, this is a horror guy. This isn't like this. Now there's this blockbuster movie and everybody feels like, and you know who else I felt like that about was Peter Jackson, who Dead Alive is one of my top 4 movies of all time. And I love that movie. I also love Lord of the Rings. But if you look at Dead Alive or Bad Taste or Meet the Feebles, some of his earlier work, and then you look at Lord of the Rings and you're like, they gave this to that guy? But there's this weird proprietary sense that I have about some of these directors that I got to know as horror directors, and then they kind of make it in the mainstream with people that don't like horror. And I'm like, well, if you only knew, which is weird and not real. Like, they're not mine. I didn't find them, right? But there is a sense with some of these directors, and Sam Raimi is one of those for me, especially. So I thought that was kind of cool as I was kind of trying to come up with names for this. I was like, oh yeah. I just have 2 more interesting ones, but I don't have a lot about them. Gore Verbinski, who has done a lot of things, and I don't know a ton about him as a director, but did The Ring, and then also directed Pirates of the Caribbean, which is definitely a kids movie, but also a bit of a scary kids movie.
Sure. And also a really family movie, right?
Yes, really more of a family movie. A lot of these are more, because even Christmas Story, the thing that inspired this particular little meandering list is more of a family movie than a children's movie. Some of these, Spy Kids, that is directly a children's movie. I think The House with a Clock in Its Walls is a kids movie for sure. And yeah, some of these are primarily kids movies, but most of these are family movies that kids could also watch, or just people who hate horror. And then the last person that I thought of was Rob Reiner, who, of course, did The Princess Bride in 1987, followed up by Misery in 1990.
Yeah, and didn't he also do...
He did. I mean, he did a ton.
Stand By Me?
Yeah, he did do Stand By Me, which is horror, but kind of drama. The book is a Stephen King novella, but the movie is probably more drama or maybe thriller, kind of. I mean, Rob Reiner also did...
Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap.
Right. Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally, A Few Good Men. What else is pretty big? Yeah, most of his stuff was more adult stuff, but more mainstream than... I mean, and even Misery is kind of a horror movie for people who maybe don't love horror, right?
I think what you were saying, to sort of piggyback on that, is that I think the similarity between family/children's movies and horror is the exploration of imagination and a more fantastical universe. Like you're talking about, like When Harry Met Sally, a mainstream movie, award-winning, that kind of movie, versus Misery, or if you're talking about Guillermo del Toro specifically, some of his are a lot more fantastical. I think children's movies and horror movies have that in common, in that they let you explore something that is more imaginative, that is less based in reality. And I think that that's what draws a lot of horror fans to horror.
I want to say that every movie is kind of a what if, right? Every movie is what if this happened? And then we kind of see what happens. But horror and children's movies, horror and family movies maybe will take that what if and just push it a little bit more. So the point is not hyper realism, but it's like everything is realistic except for this one thing, right? Or maybe not. Maybe it's a totally fantastical world, but it's still a what if. So are kind of mainstream vanilla movies, but they might, like a drama might focus instead on the relationships between people or the politics, or I don't know. I think that pushing that imaginative border and maybe taking more liberties or kind of stretching out a little bit more than you can in other genres. It also is really interesting because I just had this conversation earlier today where I mentioned to somebody, oh, I'm going to go record. And they said, oh, you record? I was like, oh, episode of the podcast. They said, oh, you have a podcast. And I explained, I have a horror movie podcast with my husband. And they were like, oh. I was like, oh, you're not a horror person. Like, people are very distinctly not horror people, right? Or they are horror people. Or they might be kind of, most people are either all in or not.
Which is funny because I think the people who are not have a very specific, not everyone, but I think have a very specific vision of what horror is. And we're talking more like Terrifier and
yes,
like the slasher genre, when there might be plenty of horror movies that they've really enjoyed, but maybe didn't consider them horror.
100%. I never try to open up that conversation unless somebody asks about it, because I don't want to assume I can convert somebody to horror. But I do also think you're right that very often they're like, oh, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, slashers, which, as we know, are just one small piece. And we also like to go way deeper on these. I know there's plenty of people who watch these movies and don't go a tenth as deep as we do in terms of some of the stuff with themes and trying to see bigger picture stuff, right? But that's okay because you can do what you want with your media. You can.
I mean, that's how I mostly watch them most of the time.
Right.
And only now am I trying to figure out why I love them so much. And this helps.
It does. And it also, all of the movies that we've covered, I end up liking more at the end than I did before, I think. Even movies that I was less excited about at first, learning more about them helps me appreciate them more, just like doing a deep dive or deep read on a book or something like that, you know? And I do remember I took a couple film studies classes in undergrad and one in graduate school. And those were always some of my favorite classes. And it makes sense because I was an English major. I love me a good story and what's beneath stories and all of that. And I guess there are just some people who want to explore stories that explore some of the darker sides of things. Not every movie's for every person, though. So if you don't want to watch From Dusk Till Dawn, you can go watch Spy Kids and still see a great writer and director at work.
Well, I think you've done a great job today.
Thanks, dear.
Very interesting, and I'm always, really only the last couple of years have I paid attention to directors, and I wish my whole movie watching life I had paid attention to the directors. And I'm kind of formulating sort of a topic about the role of directors for some other time. I won't even start to get into it now, but...
Oh, cool. Send that to me and I'll add it to our list of potential Encore ideas.
But we've got a lot of seasonal related things to get through first that I'm excited about. But for today, I think it's time for the demo.
I cannot wait to share this with the world. So yeah, let's hear it.
This is my song inspired by Black Christmas called Terminal 55.
Got somebody crazy. They dialed you to occupy your mind, but you might be late for saving. Now we know we're nearly out of time because the calls are coming from the line inside. No one knows what he is saying. All we know is that he's threatening your lives. That's why we have been tracing. Now we have an emergency tonight. Cause the calls are coming from the line inside. Yeah, the line man's done his running. found the receiver. Now we have to take that as a sign he intended to deceive her. And now he looks to claim another life, because the calls are coming from the line inside. And now we know we've been a step behind. Yeah, the lineman's done his running, and we're running out of time. We never could have guessed what he would find. And the caller's clearly cunning, and he'll come for you in kind. We pray that we will get to you alive. The Terminal 55. Maybe they're mistaken. The information that they have taken, it's gotta be wrong. But you're telling me what you're saying. For the game that he's been playing, he's been in the house so long. Yeah, the lineman's done his running, and we're running out of time. We never could have guessed what we would find. The caller's clearly cunning, and he'll come for you in kind. We pray that we will get to you alive. Yeah, we pray that we will get to you in time. We pray that we will get to you alive. In Terminal 55.
All right, let's wrap this up real quick.
All right, let's do it. That was so good.
You can find us on pretty much any social media at OMNLD Pod, Open Mic Night of Living Dead podcast, OMNLD Pod, pretty much everywhere. You can also email us at omnldpod@gmail.com. You could send us comments or questions. We'd love to hear it. And follow us, like us, wherever you're listening. Give us 5 stars. It's good for the algorithm, and we're trying to get this out to as many people as possible.
True. And did you know you can comment on Spotify? I don't know if that's been there forever, and I've just learned about it now, but I do think it's a newer feature. But if you've got questions or comments, please go on your podcast app of choice and leave what you can. Yeah, John said it all.
And next week, we will be taking a deeper look at the Christmas classic,
Yes.
Silent Night, Deadly Night. Until then,
Sorry.
I hope you've got all your shopping done. Otherwise, get out there, and we will speak with you soon.
See ya.
Bye.